Howdy gamer, let's talk about the runes for Rakan, and coming into season 10, the runes have actually changed up a bit for Rakan. Prior it was only Aftershock, it was the only good option on him. Coming into season 10, start with the Keystone Airy, maybe not what you're expecting. With Summon Airy, your attacks and abilities deal more damage, and then whenever you shield or heal an ally, you also grant them a brief shield. Airy can be procced multiple times on Rakan's E, it can be procced off the Q, and then that's it. But basically with Airy, it makes it so that whenever you damage the enemy, which is primarily going to be through your auto attacks and Q and lane, it will deal more damage. And then come mid game, your healing and shielding will be more impactful as you can get just a bigger shield off Rakan's shield, because you get 2 cast of the shield, and then that can proc Airy twice. And so it makes the kind of insignificant shield a bit more significant if used correctly. But Airy is primarily going to be a laning tool. In the second row, we're going to go with Mana Flow Ban. Mana Flow Ban, hitting an enemy with an ability gives you permanently increased maximum mana, and then up to 250. So this is basically a free Sapphire Crystal. And if you're running Summon Airy, a lot of what you're going to be doing in the laning phase is spamming your Q. And by doing so, you should be hitting it. And if you're hitting it, then you'll be getting maximum mana. And then come mid game, you're going to have enough mana to spend every single basic ability multiple times throughout a team fight. So puts you at a really nice mana pool to actually play with, even if you're missing a couple abilities. The only other options would be Nullifying Orb. Nimbus Cloak isn't useful at all, as yes, you get bonus movement speed for using a summoner spell, but it's not so useful. You can make an argument like the Flash Engage would be kind of useful, but with Rakan, how he functions coming into Season 10, I think he's going to function like existing in the backline and then engaging off his allies. So his allies goes in, and then he jumps to them, and then gets an engage off, versus just Flash RWing someone like it used to be. Especially since players are more used to playing against Rakan. With Nullifying Orb, you can run this if you're playing into something like Karthus, but that's about the only time you really want to be running this. If you're playing into like a bot lane, like let's say Syndra Zyra, Xerath Zillion, but any double mage bot lane, sure, try Nullifying Orb out. But you do have to play around not having the extra mana from this. In the third row, it's going to be Transcendence. At level 10, you get 10% CDR extra. This helps you out with your W cooldown especially. Rakan's very gated by his Q and W cooldown in team fights. Once you spend them initially, then you're really just waiting for them to go off again. So you'd either be missing out on a lot of damage from the Q, and then the little bit of extra healing, or another huge impact knockup with the W. So having that come mid game is more important than it would be to have more movement speed or a little bit more ability power. Rakan's also not a full enchanter champion, so it's hard for him to make value out of absolute focus, as you can be fighting with less than 70% health and still be relatively safe as Rakan. So, but enchanters that are permanently backline can make more use out of absolute focus, as they're always full health because they're never getting hit. Fourth rune is going to be Scorch. In combination with Airy, it makes it so that your Q poke can actually build up onto a target, and then it just puts you at a better state in the laning phase. If you're playing against a lane without sustain too, this Summon Airy page is so solid, as you can just walk up one auto attack Q and then walk away from the enemy, and then you're winning. And if you have to, you spin the E, and then if they misstep even harder, you punish them with a W. It can be so effective, because whenever you're on top of the enemy with W, the Airy cooldown is so much shorter, because the cooldown on Airy is based on the distance that Airy has to travel back to you. So if you're on top of them, you just hit them once, and Airy basically comes right back to you, so you can get so many procs of the damage off from this during an all-in. And then whenever you're just poking with the Q or a couple auto attacks, then it's also giving you a lot of value. And then come mid-game again, it's mostly just for the shielding. Secondary runes is going to be in the Resolve tree with Bone Plating and Overgrowth. Bone Plating blocks a flat amount of damage and is on a pretty significant cooldown with 45 seconds. This helps you in all-ins, and it helps you a bit with trading in lane, because like I said, your trade with this page is going to be pretty blatant. You just walk right into the enemy AD, auto attack, Q them, and then move away. And with Bone Plating, they're going to have to get through your shield, and then the Bone Plating, and then once they do so, you've already hit the Q. So once you connect with your AD or the Q time expires, then you're going to heal the damage that they dealt. So it's very hard for enemies to actually take good trades against you. And if you're also playing defensive to protect your AD in lane, this also helps because whenever they attack your AD, you shield your AD and then you move onto them with the W or just with your movement, and then any damage to them, any damage that they try to deal to you is going to be lessened. So it's so effective. And then the second rune is going to be Overgrowth. You absorb basically whenever minions or monsters, mostly minions, die near you, you're going to get permanently increased maximum health. And then at 120 minions or monsters, mostly minions, are absorbed, and you're going to get a percentage of max health increase. This basically gives you like a ruby crystal for free. And as support, it is so strong. You might really be like hounding like Revitalize, but with Rakan, you basically have 2 heal and shield abilities, but then you have your W and ult that are just like damage and CC abilities. So Rakan's kit is like half enchanter, half engage. You don't make wild use out of Revitalize. It's a nice rune, but as it stands, like Overgrowth just outweighs it. Overgrowth in combination with a new support item gives you so much health for free. And then come mid game, when you have, let's say, Zeke's completed, you're just going to be so tanky while also probably having one lane with this rune page. Adaptive stats is going to be AP, armor, magic resist. A little bit of AP helps you obviously with every single ability. It has an AP ratio. And then armor and magic resist negates both types of damage. No matter what you're playing into in the bot lane, whether it be a mage, an enchanter support, or an engage support, they're going to be dealing magic damage. So having the magic resist helps you offset their damage from level 1 and then throughout the entire game. And then the armor is pretty obvious. You're playing in the bot lane. The primary carries in the bot lane are the AD carries, the ones that deal attack damage. So you're going to be negating a lot of damage from them, going to be negating damage from minions, from the tower, from dragon, from the enemy support, etc. Having both of those resistances makes you so much more durable than otherwise. So this is the default rune page I recommend for Rakan. It's a bit like off compared to last season where Aftershock was just required. But so long that you're playing to poke and then maxing Q early, you're really going to be getting a lot of value out of this rune page, especially in lower MMRs. So again, Airy and Scorch and then Bone Plating are your laning tools. And then you have scaling tools and Mana Flow Band, Transcendence, and then Overgrowth. So these all work pretty nice together, getting you through the lane and then also winning it and then rewarding you for scaling come mid game. Very solid rune page. But yeah, if you have any questions about this rune page, feel free to leave them in the comments. I answer every single question. But let's talk about the Aftershock rune page, which has been the most standard for a while. So as it stands, this would be what I'd recommend if you want to go the resolve tree. I'd recommend any lower ranked player to run the Airy page. It's just significantly better. And if you haven't tried it, if you just mix up your playstyle and max Q and then actually play to poke the enemy, the Airy page makes it really hard for the enemy to win lane. But the benefit of the Aftershock page is that in matches that are just lower impact or like where nobody's really participating in the laning phase, come mid game, Aftershock makes it where you can survive team fights without items. So even if you're just sitting on support item and boots, Aftershock is going to be giving you way more value personally than Airy would be giving your carry. So it makes it so that you can actually like get engages off come mid game. So the changes to Aftershock 2 have made it where you get less flat resistances, but then you get higher scaling. So it's fine for Rakan too, because you still want to be itemizing Zeke's like first item. So come mid game, you're going to be getting more percentage of the bonus resistances. The damage also is pretty much guaranteed with Rakan. And then with the maximum health, it's not so synergistic, but it's fine. But more importantly, the cooldown is to 20 seconds now. So if you're trading with this in lane, it's a bit easier because the cooldown is so much lower. Usually, or in Season 9, you'd have to wait like a whole minute, basically. But now it's just every time your W's up, your Aftershock is probably up. And then for the third row, I'd go with Demolish. Even though turret plates are worth less, Rakan's ranged, and if you're ever pushed in, you could probably get a Demolish proc off. And since Rakan has this E, it's pretty safe to do so. Most melee champions can't just get the Demolish proc and get out without a significant punish from the enemy support. But Rakan can. And the value of Font of Life and Shield Bash is so bad on Rakan that it's not even worth mentioning. Like 8 damage, cool. Anyways, the third row is going to be the same with Bone Plating. Conditioning's okay. If you're playing into champions like Morgana, where they negate your laning phase almost entirely, sure, go Conditioning, because then you're just matching their scaling mid game. But in like every single other matchup, you want Bone Plating. You just effectively gives you so much more HP. And then again, Overgrowth. Overgrowth giving you more health come mid game, and then Revitalize. Your job here is just like soak as much damage as possible. Aftershock plus Bone Plating plus Overgrowth makes it so that you can just tank more and just eat more damage. Secondary runes, you have pretty good options. You could go Triumphant and then Tenacity. This is the better page if you're playing into melee supports, champions like Nautilus, Leona, or even tanks from other roles like Ornn, Zac, etc. If you have to play against champions like that, and whenever you engage, those champions can interrupt you, then Tenacity helps deal with them. And if you get if you're running Legend Tenacity, and then you buy Merc Treads later too, it makes it so that you're basically just not going to be CC'd. And then with Triumphant, it restores 12% of your missing health and grants you additional 20 gold on a kill or assist. So it makes it where you're going to survive just a little easier in team fights. And then you also get a little bit of extra gold, not so useful, but it's there. Secondary rune, if you're running the Resolve tree, I don't really see a good value of running the Sorcery second, as getting like this and this is nice, but you might as well get it from the Inspiration tree, because you can get, you could run Perfect Timing Biscuits, you could run Perfect Timing Cosmic Insight, you could run Hextech Flash Biscuits. You have a lot of options. What I would recommend for the Aftershock page is like Perfect Timing and Biscuits, because again, you're basically playing for mid game with this page. And Perfect Timing makes it so that you have the one-time stopwatch, and with it you get the Zanya stasis, right? So it makes it so that after an engage, even if things are going really wrong, you can survive for a bit, and then by surviving a bit, you add a lot of utility for your team. Your team can basically like catch up to a fight, because Rakan can engage from a long distance away. Or just surviving a last hit makes it so that the enemy doesn't get a kill and then get their triumphant proc, or just heal from other random sources and get out. Or you just deny them gold, or you just dodge abilities that are crucial and whatnot. Biscuit delivery makes it so that every 2 minutes you get a biscuit until 6 minutes, and then the biscuits restore 10% of your missing health and mana, and then consuming a biscuit increases your maximum mana by 5 or by 50. So with these, they help during all ins, as they're restoring missing health. So if you're at like 300 HP and you use it, you're going to be getting more value. They also make it where if you've spent too much mana in lane, then you have like a backup plan. Like they can kind of just save you, where you can cast 1 or 2 more abilities that you otherwise wouldn't be able to. And then if you don't end up using them in the lane phase, then you can just sell them at the shop later, and then you're still going to get the maximum mana increased, and then they kind of offset like a control word purchase or something. And then the adaptive stats would be the exact same. You could even go CDR with this. You could also go CDR Biscuits, but defaultly I'd recommend this and this. The CDR with this page too would be a higher value, as you'd want to be maxing W first, like W into E if you're running Aftershock, in my opinion, because it would just be about getting as many Ws off as possible come mid game. So I think that'd be fine. You would have about 6% CDR from the rune, around level like 7 to 11, which is about where you cap out as support. So this is going to be the Aftershock page I'd recommend for Rakan. I like Guardian's a pretty common page for Rakan right now, and I just don't think it's good. It's kind of like a hack in a sense. I think the Aerie does what it wants to do, but better, because the secondary runes for Aerie are better, and with Rakan, he's kind of a pseudo enchanter and like a pseudo engage support. So if you're running something like Guardian, it's kind of like a hack in a sense. It kind of has a synergy with having like the shield scales off your percentage AP and then bonus health, but Rakan, like, I don't even know how to explain it, man. The other pages do. Like, they just have higher purpose. Aerie for like poke and laning potential, and then transitioning into like a defensive utility later. And then Aftershock, has the utility of letting your engages be that much stronger because you can tank more. I don't know the purpose of Guardian. I'm gonna be honest. Like in lane, you block one ability and then that's it. Come mid game, you have a big shield and a little bit more movement speed, but what what does it do for Rakan? It's there. If you wanted a Guardian page, it'd be the exact same as the Aftershock page, but with Guardian. So I don't think it's good. So that's the runes for Rakan. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I answer literally all of them. And if this video helped you, leaving a like helps me. So that's that. Rakan's cool and all, but you know, Leona's kind of hot, you know?